All right, everyone. Thanks to the judge in the Manafort case, there's now significant question as to whether some of the charges against him are going to stick. Now, he got so mad at the prosecution the other day for being stupid that he literally had to come out and say, well, just because I wear a robe doesn't mean I'm perfect. You can strike that out of out of your minds, jury. Don't take into consideration my last outburst about, I can't remember what it was about. The prosecution had talked about some witness and Ellis snapped at them and stuff. But first and foremost, it's actually normal for a judge in such a trial to do this. People aren't understanding. You need to snap at the prosecution a little, otherwise the defendant can say, hey, the judge was biased against me. There was bias in the court. The verdict should be overturned. I shouldn't be in prison. I should get a retrial. That's number one. That's the biggest worry. So Ellis is actually ironically helping the prosecution and the Muellerites right now by constantly snapping at the prosecution. Manafort goes to prison. There's no way in a million years he's going to get any other higher court to overturn the verdict and say, well, there was a systemic bias against him. So for them, it's just it's just the way that things work. But repeatedly, the line of questioning from the judge specifically with regards to evidence or lack thereof has been related to the tax evasion side. Not so much necessarily like the obstruction, the money laundering, some of those charges, but tax evasion specifically is one of the big things that the prosecution has zeroed in on. So far, all they've focused on really is the tax evasion aspect. The problem is they have not actually shown any compelling evidence, apparently, of tax evasion having happened. Plenty of circumstantial evidence that's barely admissible in a court of law that itself can't, convict anyone. They're saying, well, he had a lavish lifestyle. His home was a little bit too big for his income. He had too many cars. He had the mink coat and everything. He couldn't have afforded this without skimming on his taxes or having another source of income he didn't claim. But that's just an opinion. There are other ways in which he could have amalgamated that money. Could have gotten a lot of money as an under-the-table gift that didn't need to be declared on any tax forms or something like that. And he'll be able to, when he's providing his defense, when the prosecution rests, probably do that. What they need to do, if they want to get Manafort in jail, which they desperately do to save face at this point because Trump's not going to jail, nor anyone in his direct inner circle. Roger Stone's not going to jail. Flynn at this point probably isn't going to jail. Don Jr., Eric Trump, all these people, none of them are going to see a day in jail. Probably most of them will never see a day in court because of the Mueller probe, because Trump did nothing wrong. The initial scope of this investigation was relegated to one thing and one thing only. We were told the Russians attempted to interfere in our election through the Trump campaign, and that some people on the Trump campaign may have colluded to let that happen. In which case it would have been a pretty severe fucking charge now, wouldn't it? We've got no indication that any of that happened. The Mueller probe then, because it was based on faulty reasoning, based on documents that they won't even give fully to Congress in unredacted form because they probably originated in the UK, which is a big no-no, they now have to save face in front of the American people. Every eye is on the Mueller probe. They drummed it up for weeks and weeks before they realized how shitty the Steele dossier was and what a big can of worms they'd opened. They publicized it heavily. The Democrats talked about nothing else. So every liberal in this country right now is chomping at the bit for a conviction. They can't deliver Trump. They can't give him Eric Trump or Don Jr., but Barron Trump didn't collude with reptilians to defraud the election, so they have to do the next best thing and go after his former campaign manager. It's as high as they'll probably get. That's why he's the first on the chopping block. That's why Flynn, they haven't even dragged him before a court yet. They haven't even fully charged him. Flynn will probably he'll never even see a trial because they know he did nothing particularly wrong, nothing that rises to the level where they could use him to save face. So far, they've got Russian shit posters that took some Kremlin money that didn't influence anything, and also supported Bernie Sanders and the Green Party variously, not just Donald Trump. You've got that, and then you've got Manafort. Mostly relegated to a money laundering case from a decade ago, but the prosecution hasn't so far really focused on that. And the judge has told them over and over again, hey, what you're giving me is only circumstantial evidence and itself cannot be used to convict anybody. It's not full-on evidence. You're speculating that he cheated on his taxes. Well, where's your proof? Now, they're going to get him in jail. They will get Manafort. At the very least, he did attempt to tamper with witnesses. Because of that, he also, by default, by extension, he did obstruct justice. But those are the more recent minor charges. The main reason that he's on trial to begin with is due to a money laundering case and suspected tax evasion. Those are the big ones. None of the other charges that they've mentioned will probably stick. Saying, well, he committed treason or something. No, he didn't. Again, prove it. There's no indicator of that. He worked with a Ukrainian group. As far as I know, this particular political group he laundered money for and with wasn't declared at the time an enemy of the United States. It wasn't even in Russia. It was in the Ukraine, a nation that we're marginally friendly with. So that's not endangering the United States. It's not aiding and abetting our enemies, giving aid and comfort. He's not going to face any of those charges will fall flat. So what you're really left with, ultimately, is he obstructed justice, he witness tampered, he did launder money. I'm not, proclaiming that not to be true, but the thing is, if the prosecution's not careful, the judge may throw the fucking case out and say, look, at this point, it's such a shit show. The trial is, the miscarriage of justice by the prosecution is severe enough at this point that I'm throwing the fucking case out entirely with prejudice. And what is the prosecution supposed to do then? Now, I think there's a very, very small chance that happens. But he might say, hey, I'm just going to declare a mistrial here. Try again with some other judge because I don't want any part in it. Because, what am I supposed to do, dude? The prosecution is doing everything itself illegal. In essence, the Mueller probe itself is an illegal act too. They're digging for evidence to retroactively justify the warrant that they got based on false info. Well, I'm sorry, but that's a miscarriage of justice in and of itself. Now, of course, Mueller probe goes further than just Manafort. They have found some people that have broken the law, but we're not finding the more substantial claims that were initially used to push the probe's existence in the first place to Congress and others. We're not finding that any of that's actually true. No collusion between any apparent member of the Trump campaign and the Russians. No attempt to collude. It's like this Trump Tower meeting that Trump knew about it, and he did lie when he said that he didn't know about it, but it doesn't matter. Nothing illegal there happened. So Mueller can't do anything. They can't indict him for that. They can't indict him for lying because he was never put under oath. He didn't lie under oath. And he lied about it. I guess he didn't know that people would realize that he was aware of the meeting. But if no dirt was actually bought at the time, I'm sorry, but there's nothing you can indict him for. You can say it's dubious. You can say it's suspect. Well, yeah, it's suspect that Paul Manafort had a $3.5 million home that he couldn't pay for. That doesn't mean he broke the law to get it. What if someone just gifts him, a bunch of money and like, hey, here, take this stack of cash. Manafort puts it in the bank account. That's not illegal. It's not illegal to get a gift. He could claim that. He'd say, yeah, Figlioli over there gave me 10 million big ones. That's how I afforded all this. I didn't need to declare it on my taxes. Look, it was a gift. It wasn't tax. It wasn't a form of income at all. It's not taxable. Uncle Sam has nothing to do with it. He's a good friend of mine, and I talked to him before, and I gave him a beer once. He decided to give me a bunch of money. So leave me alone. How's the government going to prove it didn't happen? The problem is that he can make up scenarios in which he makes up for that apparent gap in money, in which he wouldn't get charged with tax evasion, and it wouldn't be like racketeering or money laundering or anything, that don't leave a paper trail the government can't disprove and that can be used to negate the circumstantial evidence that they're presenting. I don't expect him to go to prison for tax evasion at this point. They haven't offered anything tangible. They said, these two lines don't add up to the tune of $500,000. They don't have anything like that. If they did, it'd be the first thing that they put out. They wouldn't be calling forth witnesses who said, he couldn't get this kind of loan. It should have been possible because it was a rental property or something. Circumstantial. That's like your opinion, dude. Who's to say that he wasn't buddy-buddy with someone else who managed to get it greenlit even if it was against your bank's internal policy? That's not illegal. That's an oversight for your bank to make. And that's exactly what Manafort can come out and say. So it's going to be very funny. I don't expect him to spend very long in prison. Dude, the dude might get time served. Especially on the lesser charges, like, you witness tampering. Okay, what's the charge for witness tampering? They don't throw you in jail for 50 years for attempting to tamper with a witness. Or routine obstruction in a general sense. He'll get time served on the lesser charges. He'll probably spend like 5 years in prison or something. He'll be out long before he's truly an old man. It'll be hilarious. It's a witch hunt. And what they're doing is they're trying to throw the book at Manafort to save face because they know they can't indict Trump. They got caught with their pants down taking intel through the CIA and partisan FBI agents from, basically MI6 over in the UK. That's where some of this info came from. They wrapped it up. The FISA court rubber stamped it like it does everything. That's a problem. Rosenstein rubber stamped it without even looking at it. Gave Mueller an unlimited scope based on false information. Now they have to go and they have to try to get anyone that they can in front of a court so that they can throw the book at them to say, look, America, we did our job. We did a thorough investigation and we found some bad guys and recouped, some money or something. Oh, what's that? Trump? Collusion? Yeah, we don't know anything about that. Never happened. That's basically what I expect to happen at some point in the future. That's about all. Peace out.